What is their actual title?
My actual title, I do static line parachuting out of World War II aircraft.
Hello, everybody. It is Natalie flyGIRL Kelley with my lovely co-host,
flyAlyssa.
Hey. We are so excited about our guest, Kat. She jumps out of World War II airplanes.
You can see my eyes, but
I have been parachuting one time. I know, Alyssa, you've been twice. Okay. I think we'll both be, really into this conversation. And I got to know Kat from an article that I did about her for Dispatch, which is a newsletter that the Commemorative Air Force puts out. And I was able to interview her and talk to her about what she does. And she kind of gave me the jumping bug. I kind of want to try to do what she does. I know she did the Normandy D-Day event.
That is so awesome. To know that like you were a part of that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome, Kat.
Thank you, Natalie.
So how did you get started in jumping out of aircraft, or where did it all begin for you?
Well, all began, let's go back to when I was about 8 years old, and my birthday's D-Day, which, everybody sort of looks back into history, like, what happened on my birthday? Well, that's what came up, is D-Day happened. So I was very interested in World War II history. And my brother attended this jump school back in 2008, the World War II Airborne Demonstration Team. He came back with these photographs and videos, and I thought this was the most incredible thing I've ever seen, and I wanted to do it. It took a few years, because at the time they didn't allow women to come through. The reasoning was that women didn't jump in World War II. However, they did, but they jumped as OSS agents, spies, so in covert operations. And so for the team, I jump as an OSS agent at air shows. So I did, however, jump as a paratrooper for Normandy, special occasions, but most of the time to represent the team as a female, I jump as a spy.
Wow. So how many spies were there that you know of? I mean, was this a huge kind of group of women that did this, or what's your take on, or your best guess, I guess?
People that were part of the OSS, and also in England, they were the SOE. But the majority of them, very few jumped, I have to say. But they did have on the ground missions as spies and stuff. And somebody that I always mention, because everybody goes, oh, I know her, but she was not a jumper, but she was an OSS agent, is Julia Childs, where everybody's like, she's the cook. Yeah, but her and her husband were OSS spies.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So there was a small number of women who actually did parachute into, occupied France and etc.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing this? And what's the training? How long have you been doing this? And then what was the training? How did you figure out where to go, what to do, all that?
When my brother finally said to me, oh, by the way, my team is allowing women to come through, I signed up immediately. So I went through in 2014 during July. And it's a 9-day course. You arrive Friday night, training starts on Saturday. And by Wednesday, all your training, and then you have to test out. So there's no guarantee. So you have to pass the tests. And if you do pass, for me, I started jumping that Wednesday night. And you get 5 jumps out of the World War II aircraft, which is called, we have 2 actually for our team. We have a C-47 Boogie Baby, and we have a C-49. And no, it's not named after me, but sometimes I pretend it's mine. But it's called Wild. So we have 2 planes, and we do 5 jumps. Our members get pinned by a World War II veteran. Wow. Still, that's dwindling.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate enough to, I got my basic wings, my senior wings, and my master wings. I've had a World War II veteran be able to pin them on me. So I've been very fortunate to have them around to pin me.
Yeah.
So I appreciate, them.
Wow.
And unfortunately now, two of the men who have pinned me are no longer with us.
Mm.
So
that must have been really, really cool, really special.
It really is. And our organization is in Frederick, Oklahoma. We have a World War II hangar. This is where they were training the pilots to, fight in the war. It's an experience. I mean, we have our own barracks and our own dining hall. It's basically, you just show up and everything is done right there in that location. Everybody dressed in World War II.
Wow, that's so cool.
I mean, the veterans have come and they go back in time and feel that they're 18 years old again. They just have the most fabulous time being with us and telling their stories. And that's what we're there for. Yes, we enjoy, and it's an experience for us, but it's a passion to, our motto is to remember, honor, and serve. And that's what we do for these veterans. We don't want their memory to ever die. And while we are the World War II Airborne Demonstration Team, it doesn't stop there. It goes into Korea and Vietnam and, to current day. So
how many of these type of events do you guys have every year, or air shows? Like, how often are you jumping with this type of event?
Our school, our team, we've had 3 jump schools a year. 2 of them are full jump schools. So one of them was only for people who were prior and current airborne. And then the other 2 jump schools allow those airborne plus people who've never jumped before, which was me.
Yeah.
I'm not military, I'm civilian, and I just had a passion. So I was very fortunate for there to be an organization like this it's a very unique opportunity to have.
Yeah.
So many people who've watched that show, Band of Brothers, people, even if you haven't watched it, people sort of are familiar with it. That's what we look like, hooking up in the plane and jumping out. So while we say we are, parachuting, we are, but it's a static line. So we jump at a altitude of 1,500 feet. A skydiver is different. You jump at, let's say, 13,500. You free fall, and then you pull your parachute. So my very first jump, I wasn't tandem. I didn't have somebody attached to me. After our training, you are well trained enough to step foot out of that plane solo.
Wow.
And you have all the procedures that you need to know in case there's a malfunction. You have to think fast on your feet to know what to do. So you have the reserve.
So when you got started with this process, like if I had no idea and I was like, that sounds really cool, I want to be involved, do you apply for this? Do they only accept so many people, or is it like a set price? Like how do you go about doing this?
You contact our recruiter. There is a price, obviously, for the training, your jumps, 3 meals a day, and your accommodations. And there are very few restrictions. I mean, sometimes I'll say a restriction, weight, you're too heavy, or maybe you're too old. We do ask for a medical clearance. We want to make sure that you're healthy enough to go through this school. But we have a waiting list.
Wow.
And yeah, it's, especially with Normandy, our team got featured. So many people have been interested in coming to our school. While you can go other places and get training doing the round canopy parachuting, if you're interested in this experience where you're at a World War II hangar. I mean, we own our planes. So, you know, all 5 jumps will be out of a C-47. And the C-47 is just, it's really beautiful to me, because inside the signatures and pictures of so many of the vets that have come to Frederick, and they've been in the plane, they've signed. And then, so when you're standing there, I mean, you're just enveloped in this history of these men that did this 75, 77 years ago now. So,
Yeah.
How many people are they able to take in, is it 9 days you said?
It is 9 days. We run a course about 25 to 30. We cut it off at 30 because we know near the time the school will start, somebody might drop.
Mhm.
And so I would say the classes are about 25 people.
And of those, how many, like what percent would you guess actually make it all the way through? Do most of them, or half of them don't make it, or what?
No, it's definitely, I would say 95%.
Okay.
Because thing, you do your testing, and there's one, we have something, you know, hanging harness, that's where you go through all the procedures of malfunctions that can happen, or you're going to have a tree landing. So you're tested on knowledge of that. So you're hanging in this harness, and an instructor will say to you, you know, that you have a, you know, body of water that you're coming at, tell us what you're going to do. And you go through all the processes, or, you know, or there's a May West, which means that you're spinning and there's a line over your parachute. You know, what do you do? So they want to test your knowledge and how fast can you know, we can't have slow in function. There's the PLF, that's the parachute landing fall. This is a process of jumping off a box multiple times in different directions, because this is how you're going to be coming down under canopy. You might be having a forward or a backward or, you know, landing. So they need to make sure that you're going to be able to do this parachute landing fall and come out of it. So you're doing those off a box. So let's say you didn't do too well in the PLF testing. It's not like you're done. They just say, you know what, you need a little bit more work. They will work with you.
Yeah.
They will work with you for a year. So even if you end this school and they're like, you know, you just need a little bit more work, come back to class and we're going to work with you.
Okay.
We want to get you through. We want you to pass, but we want you to pass safely.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
safety is the number one priority of the team.
What
We
is,
want to have somebody go through, because sure, you fall out of the plane, oh, you've landed, that's great, but we want to make sure, no, we don't want anybody getting injured. This is
right. What is the control difference from like a round parachute to like a normal, like rectangular type canopy? Like what are the characteristics, and what do you have to do differently?
Well, the skydiving canopies are, you know, high performance. I mean, they can very much move. Our round canopies are steerable, but they move at a very slow rate.
That was something I think that I didn't realize, like what you jump with is very much what they had when they were jumping.
When they jumped, they didn't have steerable. Their steerable is you pull on a riser to be able to maneuver it. We actually have what we call drive slots, which if somebody was looking at us, they're like, there's holes in the canopy. They're not holes, they're drive slots, and they assist in letting the canopy be steerable.
Yeah.
So we have goggles, and, you know, you always obviously want to land within the wind like a plane.
Yeah,
actually flying. And I do compare a lot of what I learned parachuting with flying. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
And we have skydive twice. I'm going to work on my skydiving license. But when I was learning skydiving and they were telling me how I need to come into the landing area, okay, I listened to that, because it's completely different than my round canopy parachuting. So then I got up and now I'm flying and they're telling me how to come in for a landing. And I'm like, wow, that's just like skydiving, how I'm supposed to come in with the downwind base and the final. I'm like, it's so similar. It was
that's nice.
Interesting to me, to the similarities.
Yeah, I didn't realize actually that you had a pattern, or skydivers had a pattern.
Divers do have a pattern, and at the skydive place, they do talk about, we have, a left pattern, and you have to ask them if you're showing up in a new skydive place. You have to go to the DZ officer and ask, well, what are your procedures here?
Yeah. So had you ever done any kind of skydiving or anything before you went to this parachute school?
Never. Nope. And I went to skydiving, where a lot of people have skydived by tandem. While I wasn't tandem, I didn't have somebody actually attached to me, but we went out with two people, one on each side of me. So they hold onto you. And then as soon as you open up the chute, they let go.
Okay.
So you are solo.
Yeah. So were you scared like the first time you jumped out, or did you feel like totally prepared and you were just thinking about what you needed to do?
Scared? Here's the thing. I am always cautious. I had a little bit more fear. I won't say, okay, static line jumping. I have right now 197 jumps. I'm very comfortable, but every jump I'm cautious. I never think, hey, I've got this. I have no worries. I always have a worry. I'm always thinking, what are my procedures for if I have to, use my reserve? So that's always on my mind. But I'm a little more comfortable with that kind of parachuting. So when I went to skydive, I had a little bit more anxiety because this was a whole new thing. I'm going to be actually flying through the air, just plummeting to the earth.
Yeah.
I'm used to, I jump out, the static line pulls a parachute, and I'm under a canopy. This was a whole nother venue to just think that I'm just falling to the earth right now. And I wasn't like scared, but my anxiety level was definitely a little bit more raised.
Yeah. So in World War II, were they, when they had the jumpers, were they pretty much, like I always pictured them being more like skydivers and jumping out at 13,000 feet. So were they not? Okay. Huh.
No, actually, we jump at 1,500, and that is under the FAA rules.
Okay.
Some of these World War II jumpers, they jumped at 800, 600.
Wow.
Basically, it was get out, get to the ground.
Yeah.
They don't want to be like floating and being shot at and things.
Do you take like a test? I mean, like an FAA test to get like this certification or whatever to be able to do this, or how does that work?
The FAA, we have an LOI with the FAA, but the test is through our organization. We test the students, to pass them through. So yes, there's that parachute landing fall test, and then there's the hanging harness test to go through all the malfunctions. We also, for the not just the students, but for everybody, we have cameras throughout the plane, on the wing. So after a jump, we do bring them in and debrief, so they see themselves jump out of the plane, and there's a certain way to go out. You go out with your left foot forward. You get into a hit it position, which is feet and knees together, and you're bent over into like an L, and and that allows the parachute to come out, and you're avoiding having it hit you in the neck. And so we want to make sure that these people are safe. And if we see an exit that doesn't look too good, we can go back and do some more training. I mean, we do what we call mock door, and everybody exits pretending that you're going out of the door of the airplane, so that it's a muscle memory.
Yeah.
So that's what we're working on.
Yeah. So what was it like when you went over to Normandy? I mean, let's just like talk about that. That had to be like amazing.
Normandy was fantastic. It was very stressful. I mean, so many people. there was some confusion. I was doing the cross channel jump, and you know, I guess it's a very hard thing to try to organize when you have
I bet.
doing this. We were supposed to have 2 jumps. One was in England, but that one was called off because of weather. But we were able to do our cross-channel jump and jump into France, which was funny because you had to come with your passport because you just came from England, so you had to get it stamped. And but it was beautiful. I was in the lead airplane. I was number 3 out. So got on the ground, and then I just stood there, just staring up at all the planes coming, and it just everybody coming out, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was a great sight.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I'd be like emotional just imagining what that would have been like for all the people over there to go in like this.
It was a very long day.
Yeah.
We were up early, and by the time, I got back to the vans, I think it was early evening. It was just a really long day, and I don't even know how long the flight was from when we took off in England. Hour 45 minutes, something like that.
Yeah. 2 questions. The people that went through the school, do all of them go to these air shows and perform, or was it just like a thing that they wanted to check off their list, or what?
There is a whole slew of people. And truthfully, I was somebody that thought, I'm going to get 5 jumps and get wings and just be like, I did that and be proud of myself. But after my first jump, I was completely addicted, loved it, loved the whole atmosphere, and meeting the veterans. So I was hooked. I've been going to every school ever since.
So cool.
To jump an air show, you have to have 35 jumps. Our school has some rules. We ask, some people have jumped elsewhere. We have the prior airborne. So some people have numerous jumps over the 35, but an air show is not like jumping with the 82nd Airborne. They have this huge drop zone. They jump out and, they're on the ground. An air show, as we're jumping in that tiny little slit of grass in between the runways.
Yeah.
You need to know how to fly your canopy, be safe. There's all the rules of you can't be starting the jumpers over a crowd, so you have a small window to get all these jumpers out, to be able to land in that tiny little stamp of a piece of grass on the air show strip. So we ask that, we have evaluation jumps, and we just want to make sure everybody's safe.
Yeah.
We don't want somebody coming to an air show and something happening, because this is a reputation of our team.
Right.
We want to have top-notch jumpers. Mm-hmm. But, as far as the FAA, they say, if you have 35 jumps, you can jump an air show.
Well, how many people normally jump with you guys, like out of an aircraft? Like, what is the number?
Well, we've done a jump in our, down in Oklahoma of 24 people, but an air show, I've had 13 people. We've had 8. Mm-hmm. Some air shows ask for, they don't want as many because maybe the drop zone is smaller.
Okay.
But I would say between 8 and 13.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are all volunteers. It's all a volunteer thing. Yeah. And you get yourself there, and you stay with your team, I guess, when you're there. Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
So
I mean, and we call each other, we're family. Mm-hmm. When you're doing something like this and you're spending all this time with these individuals, you bond. Yeah. So we're family.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the day the jump school's over and the hangar is empty, and you see that person there, and just very sad.
Yeah.
The week can go so fast. And you just wait for the next jump school to come to see everybody once again.
Do a lot of people come back for those jump schools afterwards to help, or?
We have, lately we've had very good retention. There are people that family or jobs, prevent them. But a lot of people, will find any which way they can to work it into their year to make sure that they can get that week off to come, Frederick and be with us. And, volunteer instructors, our riggers, our jump masters.
You also you have like period clothing that you wear as well, right?
Yeah, I can't believe how many military uniforms I own now. I mean, I have a room that I call my military room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And, it's sort of fun because I get to also play the part of a 1940s woman.
Yeah.
So I'm tired of wearing the paratrooper clothes. I can, put on a dress and shoes and do my hair and makeup and an alternative.
When you got into this, you said, I think Natalie said you started flying lessons. Like what made that shift for you?
Okay. One, Natalie inspired me.
Oh.
When Natalie interviewed me a few years back, I was, she's interested in me talking about my parachuting, and I'm now interested in hearing about flying, and I would love to fly a plane. And I'm around so many pilots in that organization and going to the air shows. All the pilots are around me, and I'm just like, I want to fly.
It's really infectious. Yeah. So,
with last year with COVID, actually something came online in December. It was a free, and while it says free, it's still good. It was called Tech Ride Prep, and it was a ground school.
Yeah.
So while I didn't know what they were talking about, I watched this and took notes and tried to take the tests 3 days a week, 3.5 hours a night. I was taking that ground school. And like I said, I was completely lost. But I did obtain a lot of information, but I didn't know it until I signed up and started to go and fly. So I got in the plane, and some of these things that I've learned in that month, I'm like, oh, now I know what they're talking about. The pitot tube. That just everything was like making sense.
It all ties in.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn still.
I think the scariest part, when I did a tandem skydive jump, it was before I was a pilot, and I didn't realize that the scariest part would be the flight up, because we were tethered to the floor of this aircraft, and I was deathly afraid of this plane. And now it's like, now that I'm one with the plane and I'm a pilot, it's a completely different experience. And so jumping out was like so much more fun. And so now I'm like, okay, I think I need to do some more training, just because I think it'd be just, having those relationships with the jumpers and yourself flying, like it's a really cool experience.
It really is. I agree.
So what's your goal with it? Are you just wanting to be able to fly, have your private and fly a little bit, or are you wanting to use that, to tie into what you're already doing?
I like to always better myself, excel at something. And I just thought that was another part to enter into this whole aviation love I have. Maybe I do want my own plane. I can fly to Oklahoma and be there. I also have thought about maybe doing something with the Civil Air Patrol. Mm-hmm. I've spoken to some women that are in the 99s out in California. And this one woman was telling me how, with her pilot's license, she works with the Civil Air Patrol and they do search and rescue. And I just was like, I like the sound of that. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, what can I do with that? So that's an avenue I want to investigate and see what I can do.
Yeah. There are so many things you can do. And I feel like the more you talk about it and you hear, like the search and rescue thing with the celebrity, some certain things really speak to you more than other avenues. And I think that you'll know when those things they come up and you're like, that is interesting to me. I think that would be something I would like to do.
Yeah. I feel that it's, I thought I should have joined the military. I wanted to be somebody who can help others. And so I'm trying to do something that I enjoy, but how can I help others in the same time? So I thought this might be a good mix. I love being up in the air. What a feeling to just
I think
So
that's the craziest thing that kind of connects all of the people in aviation is like, I think we're people that want to further ourselves and be better. We also want to help others. And, you know, when I started my pilot's license, I had no idea all of the avenues of things that you could do. And I didn't know that a couple years later that I'd be sitting here having a podcast about aviation with, you know, you guys. So, I mean, it's, you don't really know where aviation is going to take you until you get there, because it's going to take you in all these different really cool directions, and you'll meet somebody new and they'll inspire you to do something else.
Yeah.
So.
I think with the parachute, thing that you're doing too, I would think that, I mean, the aviation community is small, but the parachute community's got to be even smaller. And I would think some of those people would also be interested in maybe flying, and could be good companions for going when you're going through your studies and all that stuff, to build you up, number one, and help you, know that you can do it, because I know they're part of your family. They've got to be at this point. But you could inspire someone else, to do it in your group.
There are a few CFIs, part of my organization. I think there's about 4 of us. One did get his pilot's license. I think there's 3 of us that are still in the process of doing it.
Yeah.
It just, it blends.
Yeah. It does.
So shooting, aviation, and it's hard when you're around pilots, and it's so much more fun for me now. I have these conversations with the pilots that are there, and things are making more sense when I talk to them.
Yeah.
Because I get.
Yeah.
So,
and they're wealth of knowledge. You'll learn so much just from conversations with them,
And,
Absolutely.
And they've been doing it for years. So,
yeah,
we've got great big brothers to, go back on and get advice. So
I think the hardest thing for me now is, you have these interactions with all these pilots and interesting people. And then I go home or I go to work and I start talking about airplanes, and people just like check out and like, oh, we can't talk about airplanes here, can we?
nope. And
But when you meet somebody that understands it, you just instantly click.
yep, so. I totally get it with planes or the World War II parachuting I'm doing.
Such a lot little,
yeah. They go, wow, that's very interesting, but you don't get it until you're actually involved and do it. And then you're talking to, somebody, and you just the passion between, like you, me, Natalie right now, it just, you feel it. So I'm like, I'm among friends.
Absolutely. This is the Friends podcast, of course.
Yes. I love how you have that, and that love for the World War II veterans and that history, and that really brought you in. And I think I've learned so much about history through aviation, and that, I have such a huge respect for the World War II pilots, and as well, and to be able to share some of that.
So I said about, World War II pilots, of course, the WASPs.
Oh yeah.
Air Force. Oh, so I've met, a few of them, and I'm excited to officially, when I get my pilot's license, to be like, you know what, I'm going to dress and represent.
The
WASP.
Yeah. I think that's so cool.
I've shown up at some of my lessons in some of World War II gear. I think they must think I'm a little crazy.
Well, I would totally do it if I had them.
Yeah.
World War II coveralls, and I'm like, but they're comfortable. And they've got all these pockets, and I needed them. So
yeah. I think now that you're going through flight training, don't you find that you have such a larger respect for the women that did that and flying these really powerful like airplanes that's nothing like what we fly, the 172 or whatever.
They're amazing women. And when I've met them now, and they're in their 90s, and they're frail and sweet, and I'm like, oh God, they were badasses.
Yeah.
They had to have been like strong as oxes.
Brave, extremely brave.
Yeah.
So-
I do volunteering with the Red Tail Squadron, and we now have a WASP part of that program. And last year was going to be our debut year, but because of COVID, that kind of got messed up. But this year they've got a lot of that, and they have. I know the CAF has acquired T6 that the WASP had trained in, and I would love to be able to, represent the women by being able to fly this airplane in the air shows, and that would be something
Where
so
can we
right
sign
up
up?
your alley.
Let's sign up.
Yeah. And they want women that can do that. There's really not very many women that are flying warbirds. I mean, there's a few,
Right.
but I think it's so important to bring that history alive and share those stories and show what these women did to all the other,
Idea.
girls, whatever. How would someone be able to see you perform in a show? How do they find out where your team is going to be jumping? Where, like the website? How do they find out what it costs to go through this program? All that good stuff.
Our website is, WWII ADT, which stands for World War II Airborne Demonstration Team .org. We also have a Facebook page that they can go to. Some people have found my name and, links
Yeah.
to the organization.
Yeah.
And, you can go there. It says, contact us. I always say to anybody, I mean, all of the members on the team, you can, maybe they're not wanting to contact through the website. Feel free, contact me, send me an IM, say, hey, I heard about this, your name popped up and I'm interested. And I will send them to the right person or give them more information, just one-on-one.
I'm going to guess this whole jumping thing has changed your life. Like, what were you doing before all this started?
Before I was doing this, I was in the fitness industry.
Okay. Yeah.
And it definitely changed my life. Let me put it this way. I've become more gutsy of a woman. I'm sort of still a little bit, I'm a pushover. And now I'm trying to be a little more not like that, more assertive.
I think it definitely empowers us and makes us feel way strong, and when you're doing something that not many others are doing.
You're completely right.
Yeah.
It's very unique.
I would guess there'd be a lot of people that would hear this and be like, that sounds really fun. I would love to be able to say that I'm the kind of person that could do that, but I'm scared. Like, it's just like so out of their comfort zone. What would you say to them?
Sometimes it's good to get out of your comfort zone. If you feel that you want to do it, deep down, you really do want to do it.
Yeah.
Take a chance, see how far you can go. I know there were some people there was a girl, she was 18 when she went through. She actually had never flown in an airplane before going up in that C-47 and jumping out.
What?
That's pretty gutsy.
That's pretty gutsy. I mean, you might as well, right?
That's amazing. So
yeah, that's really cool.
Wait, you've never flown before and you went up in a C-47 and jumped out before going up in like a normal 747 on, Delta or something.
I mean, as much as I want to fly in warbirds and things, now, it's like, unless I'm doing the pre-flight or knowing what's going on, like I'm even a little bit nervous about it. So, I think your knowledge and doing your pilot training is going to give you that little bit extra of knowledge, just what to look for. And you can even help do pre-flights and be checking out the plane.
Before getting in a plane and learning about pre-flight, I wasn't jumping the one day. So I said to the pilots, is it okay if I like sneak in and be in the cockpit, like behind them?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So I had the headphones on and I was listening to them doing all their pre-flight. And I'm like, they need cheat sheets. I didn't understand. So they both had their thing and they were
and checklists and
I had no idea. I'm like, wow, they have to have cheat sheets to do this.
Yeah.
But now I know, I understand that this requirement and it's how you don't miss something.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. And I think you're an inspiration to so many other people. And I think, I just saw your photos and things before we got on and I was like, how cool. Like, I would love to be, I love that era and, just to dress up. And I think you are rocking it. And
Yeah.
I'm really happy that there's people like you out there doing this.
I mean, that knows I was there in Ohio with,
Yeah.
3 members of my team celebrate. We were jumping in celebration of Jim Pee Wee Martin for his 100th birthday. World War II
I
veteran.
saw an article about that actually, and I was like, oh my God, that's where Kat was at. That is so cool that they did that for that man.
Yeah, I saw Lindsay posted it and I was like, that's so cool. Like, just to bring that history, and I'm sure they really appreciate it too,
They had a ball. And actually, after that year of COVID, where the veterans weren't allowed to go anywhere,
Yeah.
they just been so excited to finally go out and have their events again.
Yeah. So who, like in that case, because it was someone's birthday, like who organized that? Did someone call and say we want to do this, or someone heard it was his birthday and they're like, hey, why don't we do this?
The organizers were W&R vets, and I think the thought of it happened back in October, and they really got the ball running in January and was able to get this all together. So, you signed up for the 3 jumps. We had 3 C-47s there. That's All Brother, Placid Lassie, and DDay Doll. And many of these jumpers have never jumped, some of those planes. So it was like a dream come true for them to be able to jump those planes. And we're all there for the same reason.
How cool to be a part of that.
It really was. I was not going to miss it at all. And we were lucky that the weather held out. It was a little cold, but I mean, when the day we showed up, there was snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Surprising.
I know. Very, very. So where are you in your pilot training right now?
I am right where I can be doing my solo.
Oh, wow.
I have 30 hours in, and I had to stop because I had to leave to go to Oklahoma for a jump school.
Yeah.
Then the Ohio event. So now I'm back in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Where I was taking my lessons out of Morristown Airport.
Oh, that's a busy airport, isn't it?
Yes, and I can say that I'm actually enjoying the fact that a lot of my training, I'm dealing with New York Airspace.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I was in the LaGuardia Tower one time and I'm like, yep, never flying in this airspace. Never. Peace out. I'm like calling them up being like, hey, it's Alyssa. I'm going to need to do the exclusion. And they're like, get off the frequency. But they say it like 10 times faster and I don't even understand what they said. So
yeah. If you can fly there, you can fly anywhere, I would say.
Right. Yeah.
That is what the instructor told me. If you can learn to fly up around New York airspace, you'll be fine anywhere else you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what kind of airplane are you training in?
We are using the Cessna 172.
Okay. What's been your biggest surprise in training, and maybe the most challenging thing for you?
Most challenging? Landing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, takeoff's easy. It's just landing it.
Yeah.
And a lot of my training was being done in very high winds.
Oh.
So, not really knowing how to land a plane and coming in and dealing with high winds. Yes, the instructor had to take over.
One little gust and it kind of just throws you off, and that just kind of disheartens you, so.
Yeah. And we were talking about the airspace that I'm in. I feel like I'm constantly, calling into a tower or calling here. I'm like, God, do I ever get a rest? I feel like I'm always talking to somebody or having to make an announcement.
Yeah. And that was the most stressful, is just doing pattern work. And you're just like, can I just like fly straight and level for a minute? Like just,
Right. Let's
you
take
know,
a
but
break.
you have to
Everybody take
drill
off.
that into your head, you know, so.
While I was embarrassed about this, I sort of think this is funny. So my very first flight, I went up and I was a little uneasy. Okay, first of all, I don't have motion sickness. I can handle it. Well, I wasn't doing too well.
No.
And then he was showing me how to do turns without using the rudder in the air and how it was bumpy. I'm like, oh my God, are there bikes in this plane? And it was also difficult to have the mask on.
Oh, yes, totally. Yeah.
So I'm living in Alabama. I come up to Jersey. Alabama's much more free with not having the mask on. And I come up to Jersey and I'm wearing this mask a lot. And now I'm up in the plane and, you know, breathing in my own
hot air. Yeah.
And that first flight, it got me. And
wow.
Yep. I needed a beer bag.
Well, I hear that happens a lot actually. So I
was surprised for myself because I've been on bumpy C-47 rides before we're going to jump.
Yeah.
And there's been moments that I'm like, ooh.
I think it's too a little bit of anxiousness, you know, for a lesson and you being in control, but then them having to show you. And I think it just kind of throws off your like equilibrium a little bit because I'm like, I will go do an aerobatic training and I get more sick because they show me something. And, you know, it's like, I can fly the plane and do some things, but like, if I like sit back and have them do it, I'm just like, oh no.
That's when it hit me when they were in and something. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel, and it was right at the end of the lesson and we were up there for 3 hours.
Oh my goodness.
Very, very long.
That is a long time.
It's a long time.
Yep.
Wow.
I don't like my instructor that much to even hang out.
Wow. I would be exhausted. Yeah. So the landings are the hardest, and I do feel like can be so hard on ourselves with the landings, especially new students, because you want them to all be perfect, and they're not going to be perfect. Very few of them are going to be perfect.
Give yourself a little bit of grace.
Yeah.
I know. I was really excited. I was headed to Reading, Pennsylvania, and that's one of the places that we do our air show. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually not going to jump out of a plane. I'm going to land this plane and take off. I didn't land it. I basically bounced it and we took off. So
it happens.
Hey, you walk away from it, it's a landing.
Right. Right. I had one instructor tell me a landing is just a controlled crash. I mean, it's just and they're hard. And I know it's really hard. We've had a lot of gusty winds here too. I've always felt like if I could just have calm winds, I feel like I'd be okay. But it's never like, you're never going to be able to count on calm winds. So you have to learn to deal with it.
Train for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah. Right.
I also have to learn to stop. I'm very polite. So when I read back to the control tower, I'm like, thank you, please. And I'm like, oh, I don't need to say that. I can just give them the information back and just avoid the whole, but I feel like I have to say, thank you.
It just comes with time. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. It's like they really want you to be short and sweet.
Yes.
Especially up there. I can imagine what that's like.
Luckily, there are schools at the Morristown Airport, so they get it. They know they're talking to the student. I've called in for the weather. What is it? Flight awareness? No, not flight following, where you have to call
flight service.
Yes. So they were going real fast, and I just was like, "Excuse me, I'm a student." I'm like, "Can you repeat that?" And they're like, and then all of a sudden the whole demeanor changed, and the guy was like, "All right, now," and I was like, "Oh, thank you." Yeah. And you know, you think you're going to be embarrassed for saying that, you know, oh, I'm a student, but they're so great with wanting to help you. They understand, they were there too, so they're not going to criticize you.
Right. I was always told, tell them you're a student, like from the get-go. And they're like, and you can tell them you're a student for the next 3 years if you want to. They don't really know.
I've heard people that are CFIs and they just say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a student. And they're like, oh,
right.
Hey, I was from another part of the country and came to the New York Airspace. I'd go, I'm a student.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I hope I can see you sometime do one of your jumps. I know it didn't work out this last time when you were in Ohio. I hated that, but I've heard that Reading show is actually really good, and I haven't been to that air show.
That is going to be June 4th, 5th, and 6th. We have a jump each day.
Yeah.
And if all works out, my 200th jump should be on my birthday. That's Sunday, June 6th.
Oh.
And
So cool.
I think I might be jump mastering that one. That would be very
That's super cool.
If not, then my
Great
200th
accomplishments.
will be Oklahoma. And at that point, I will choose certain people to be on the plane to jump with me.
Yeah.
Milestone.
Maybe we can go, Natalie.
Wow, we need to go, don't we?
Yeah. Can somebody like put us on the top of the list?
I definitely want to go. That's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing all that and for spending time with us tonight. I know you have other things to do and probably some stuff to study. If people want to find you on social media to send you a message, where would they find you?
On Facebook, they can search for Kathleen Cat Healy, Healy. They'll know it's me if they just scroll on my page. All they'll see is a lot of jump photos, and just shoot me a message. I'd love to hear from them and, assist them in any way I can with, if they're interested in this kind of venture.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. And I think thank you as well to, keeping the, history alive through all of this and inspiring others to do really cool things like you are. And just keep it up. And we can't wait to hear your next solo and your check ride and all of those things.
I'm just, as part of my organization, I am just a small part. It's so many members that make it happen. So.
Yeah, thank goodness for all of you that put it all together and do that for the public to see. I think that's amazing. All right, ladies, well, have a great night. It was good to see all of you, and thank you to the listeners for joining us on this podcast. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe now to Cockpits and Cocktails. Please. We're on all the places where you can listen to podcasts, and if you have any ideas or suggestions for podcasts, reach out and let us know, and make sure you follow Kat too and see where she's going to be jumping, and go watch her one of these days. Maybe we'll all be there together at the same time. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you.